Between these moments where we flounder and we fail, where we succeed and then fall again, we sometimes ask questions like, what's my purpose? Why are we here? And why does this have to be so difficult? There are days where we may feel like a spiritual seeker, ready to assume the Om position, and other days we feel like a spiritual warrior, ready to take on the battles and come out a winner. This podcast is all about helping you with your spiritual growth so you can overcome obstacles and manifest your destiny, to crystallize and materialize any dream, basically to have success on life's journey. It's all about getting unstuck by unlocking your hidden power. I hope today's episode inspires you to look more closely at those moments where we succeed, only to crash and burn again, hoping to succeed again so that we can get clarity on the path of our soul's journey. So let's get started. Hi there and welcome. My name is Remy, like Do Re Mi. I'm a best-selling author and creator of the Get Unstuck Revolution. I help extraordinary women just like you dissolve the obstacles in your path so you can bring success to you. Now let's get started with today's video. Okay, let me jump off the screen here so I can see my laptop. Today, we're talking about the stability we're able to find in spite of our flounderings and failings. We're finding a catwalk or a way to observe from above the things that we're going through in order to make better choices. Are we a spiritual seeker who's looking to understand life's struggles, or are we a spiritual warrior who's looking to combat the darkness? After all, as long as we bring light to the darkness, does it really matter whether we're a seeker or a warrior? Every challenge in life and at work is asking us to reach and expand into more of who we really are, and this helps us to take the next steps toward our next success. If you'd like to see success in full abundance along life's journey, and if you're wanting to tap into a greater knowingness and align with the higher consciousness of your infinite self, instead of the lower ego thinking that pushes success away, then this is for you. It's time to be unabashedly, unapologetically, happily untethered to ego thinking. It's time to align with the higher energy of our soul's path instead. This episode is for you if you wonder, am I a spiritual seeker or a spiritual warrior? And how can I tell the difference between the two? How can I use my past failures to grow into who I'm meant to be? How can I remove the barriers or lift the veil as I'm on my spiritual journey? Yes, these episodes are about how to find your hidden power when you want to transform challenges into successes. I like to call it the audacity of alchemy. Because when we're feeling stuck, it's never the situation that has us stuck. It's our energy that's become stuck in anxiety, overwhelm, doubts, worries, frustrations, indecision, and even anger. And often this is because of the spiritual injury that we've experienced, some kind of hidden trauma. So it isn't the pain of the situation, it's the pain of not being connected in the natural energy of who we really are, of being connected to that magical part of us that's a creative vibrational being who can use positive energies to create what we want and bring it into physical manifestation. We can allow our manifestations to materialize and not get stuck in the negative vibrations that block them. These positive energies that we talk about so much are where we find the magic of alchemy. Because our choice of frequency, our choice of those positive thoughts and emotions can change the course of our journey. And today we're posing the question, are you a spiritual seeker or a spiritual warrior? And is there a difference? When we flounder or when we fail, is it making us more of a seeker or more of a warrior? You know, I used to just love the term spiritual warrior, but I had so many people reach out to me and say that it was a combative term. Well, I wouldn't call it combative, but I would call it contradictory. In fact, I did a quick bit of research on the internet just by typing in the words spiritual warrior. And the first thing we see here, and I've put these on the screen for you, is a spiritual warrior is someone who goes through life aggressively and purposefully, seeing challenges as something to work through. I like that. Next, we see someone who embraces courage, compassion, discipline, and training to master one's own self. I like that too. The third definition here, and the one that I see most often, is someone who combats ignorance. According to Buddhist philosophy, ignorance is the ultimate source of suffering. And next, we see definitions about spiritual realization, someone who challenges lies and false beliefs. And of course, we could go on. In fact, the internet gives us 8 million pages on this topic. But we might all agree that this could be a workable definition. A spiritual warrior is someone who brings light to the darkness. A spiritual warrior is someone who brings light to the darkness. But wait a minute, couldn't this also be the definition of a spiritual seeker? Well, I've compiled a list of several qualities. And so within these qualities, let's see whether you can relate. And here's number one. You have bravely questioned the principles, morals, and beliefs that were once your guiding light. Not that we need to be conspiracy theorists, although some of us definitely lean this way with recent world events that are making us question everything. But the bottom line is, we no longer take what we've been taught for granted. We are searching for the truth with a capital T. We've come to realize that it's safe to be vulnerable and it's courageous to be open. We can let our previous SOP, our previous operating systems, fall away like an armor that's no longer necessary. We've also realized that we no longer wish to be a puppet to our ego thinking, to its fears or thought patterns that don't serve us anyway. We're brave and fearless enough to find and express the unconditional love and compassion in our soul. We find that the universe is limitless and we're ready to dance like Satan is nipping at our heels. And I don't mean that literally. I don't know if you remember the old Friends episode where Phoebe said that she used to run freely, run from Satan, and Satan was the neighbor's dog. So I'd like you to take a moment, think back to a time where you floundered or failed, where you succeeded and then fell down again. And then as you revisit this obstacle or challenge, ask yourself, was there a principle, a moral, or a commonly held belief that you were relying on that was your guiding light and it let you down? It turned out to be false. Something like the old saying, if you build it, they will come, only nobody showed up. As you look back to this time where you floundered or failed, was there a guiding principle that let you down? And did this cause you to become either a spiritual seeker or a spiritual warrior? All right, so let's move on to number 2. You have an unapologetic thirst for self-discovery. We sometimes get to a point where we wonder, why am I here? What am I supposed to do with my life? And am I on the right track? We get to this place where we want to know thyself. And this can really open up a can of worms when we ask these questions. Or as someone said to me at a workshop, the rabbit hole goes so deep that it comes back around as a wormhole. Just love that. If you aren't familiar, a wormhole is a passage through space and time that creates a shortcut for long journeys across the universe. In other words, be careful what you ask for because you just may get it. In our quest for self-discovery, we'd better be prepared for whatever we're about to uncover because it just may blow the ego into a million little pieces. Well, this is why our ego works so hard to keep our fears and doubts and confusion alive, because it doesn't want us to discover the truth with a capital T. By the way, if you want to know more about this truth with a capital T that I've mentioned a couple of times here, go back and catch a recent episode that was called Perfect Timing. It talks all about self-discovery and the truth that we're supposed to uncover and what this game of life is all about. Gotta say, it's probably my favorite episode of all time. So we're talking about our quest for self-discovery. I'd like you to think back, take a moment, and go back to a time where you floundered or failed, where you succeeded and then fell down again. And ask yourself, were you in a period of self-discovery when this event happened? Or did this obstacle or challenge put you toward a quest for self-discovery? Think back to a time where you floundered or failed, where you succeeded but then fell down, and ask yourself, were you already in a period of self-discovery and you called this event in to help you with that self-discovery? Or did the obstacle or challenge put you toward a quest for self discovery? All right, let's move on to our next one, our number 3 and our final one. You find that you have detached from ego and immersed yourself into an unquenchable spiritual quest. You have utterly detached from your ego and immersed yourself into an unquenchable spiritual quest. You know, we've talked about this before, the insidiousness of ego and how it loves to trap us in its fears, doubts, and worries. It loves to entangle us in the endless resistance that's designed to make us flounder and flail. We reach for success only to fall down again. That's the game of the ego. And there comes a time where we're ready to reach for more. We know we're meant for more. We know that we deserve more. We want to expand. We want to flourish. We want to become more of who we're meant to be. And we realize that these desires we hold are at cross purposes with our ego. So we decide once and for all that we'll no longer be committed to these lower energy thought patterns that keep us down. And we begin to ask ourselves more empowering questions. We become spiritual seekers. We're on a quest for the truth with a capital T. We seek a connection with all things. We seek infinity, or at least we recognize that we no longer want to be limited in our experiences. We're tired of falling down and getting beaten up. So take a moment, reflect back to one of those moments where you floundered and then flailed, where you succeeded only to fall down again. Think back to one of these moments where you asked the tough questions of life. Were you seeking the truth of who you are and who you're meant to be? Were you a seeker, or were you fighting ego and fighting for how you know deep down life should be? So here we have it. And of course, we could do 20 episodes on this one topic, but do you see yourself here? Have you questioned the principles that were once your guiding light? Are you into self-discovery and becoming who you're meant to be? Has your spiritual quest caused you to permanently detach from ego? Oh, that's a big one. But it's also a choice toward those higher frequencies and energy that can only be found with our positive thoughts, positive emotions, and our positive outlooks. So with this in mind, do you consider yourself a spiritual seeker or a spiritual warrior? And does it make a difference? Are they the same thing for you? You know, for me, I used to love the phrase spiritual warrior because for me, it was embracing courage to fight for how things should be. But do we need to fight for how things should be? Or does the spiritual warrior need to put the sword down and discover that love and compassion is all there is, and the positive energies are what create change? The positive energies are what create the transformation. Removing the veils of love is the spiritual warrior's quest, right? Well, how do you feel about this? I'm curious. Here is one of my favorite quotes, that our task is to seek the barriers to love that we've built against it. I've put this up on the screen for you. It's kind of a seeker's quote, but could it also be a warrior's quote? And then here's another one from Marianne Williamson, or it might be the Course in Miracles, that in the presence of light, the darkness disappears. So we might say that seeking the barriers to love and compassion might be the spiritual seeker's quest, and then removing the barriers or the veils might be the spiritual warrior's quest. I'm curious, how do you see this? Love and compassion are at the core of our being, and it's at the core of everyone else's being too. We exist with this at our core, but it's often hidden beneath anger, trauma, and other negative emotions about our obstacles and challenges. So this really gets down to managing our energies and our emotions about what we're going through. Expanding our love and compassion and appreciation is what destroys the darkness. All our positive emotions and energies and thoughts destroys the darkness. Well, not to destroy it, but to bring light to our world and to those around us. We're transmuting the darkness into knowledge and light and compassion. And this brings about a powerful force to change the world, and we become a guiding light who can bring healing to this world. And I don't know about you, but I think this is very cool. As we empower ourselves toward this idea of how to discover and express who we are at our core without conditions, without limitations, without the negative emotions of ego, we're choosing a higher frequency, higher and better thoughts, and more positive emotions because our choice of frequency changes the course of our journey. So, reflecting back on everything we covered today, how can you apply what you've learned? Do you consider yourself a spiritual seeker or a spiritual warrior? And is there a difference? And if there is, what is the difference for you in your world? How can you use this knowledge moving forward? Well, I hope this helps you as you're using the powers of alchemy to transform challenges and obstacles all around you into positive new successes. This podcast is all about helping you have success on your spiritual growth journey. It's all about getting unstuck by unlocking your hidden power. If you still can't get your head around what's got you stuck, you can tell me about it. You can send me a question too, questions at unlockyourhiddenpower.com, or you may not know that you can schedule a one-on-one session with your own personal unstuckologist, that's me, by visiting instantbreakthroughsession.com. This private session is designed to help you tap into your greatest resource, that's you, and together we can make quite a team toward calling in the transformational powers of alchemy. And our time together will uncover your single biggest stuck point, the one you can't see. We'll also go over the most genius way to create clarity so you can just move forward while one obstacle after another is obliterated. And we'll create a strategy to get you moving in a really good direction, the one that's aligned with your life purpose. If this sounds like a match made in heaven, you can hop on over to instantbreakthroughsession.com right now and book the time slot that works best for you. Well, thanks for joining me today, and I'm wishing you a life filled with all the alchemy you need to bring success to you. Feel free to share this video with anyone you know who's feeling stuck, and I look forward to seeing you soon.